ready to talk some Return of the King? The Oscar winner. This is the big one. Speaking of big one, I actually was surprised. I wanted to cut. I was like, oh, I can cut this one down to like 3 hours and 30 minutes too. And I did not. I failed. I really totally failed here.
Failure is not an option.
Including the half of the credits that I kept, because I'm always just tossing the fan credits because, screw the fans. But I think it's about 4 hours, which is still like 20 or 30 minutes down, But that's where it's at.
You already cut 20 minutes of them laughing and jumping on a bed at the end.
You know what? It's funny. I feel like when I watched this the first time, when I watched the extended edition, 15 years ago, it felt long. You're like, at the end, you're like, wow, it just had 4 different endings. When are we going to finally, And I feel like maybe it's still a little too long, and maybe people have some comments and thoughts, and some subscribes and some likes while we're at it. But yeah, if you watch it this time, I would be curious to hear. I cut just a little bit of that super adorable bed bouncing slow motion, and maybe I don't know. I feel like it's better. It's that scene was always a little over the top, and I feel like now with just 30 seconds removed, I think it kind of actually works a little better, maybe.
Love to hear it. Love it. That's one of those scenes where, when you were watching it in a movie theater, because we're that old, where you were like, oh, this is a little excessive, but it's been a journey to get here.
Yeah.
It's literally been a trip to Mordor and back.
One does not simply walk into.
In the moment, you're like, this is going on a little while, but it had been such a buildup. And that you're like, okay, this is the payoff. The friends are all back together. I don't know. There's something about it where the journey was so incredible, especially at the time, that I was like, go ahead, Peter Jackson. Everybody's pillow fighting on a bed.
Pillow fighting,
I'm okay with it, bud.
And I think that's where I kind of ended with it, was it's I don't want to remove the whole sequence, because Frodo doesn't even know that Gandalf is alive. This is the first time that Frodo's seen Gandalf since the first freaking movie. So it's actually very touching. And I feel like when you remove some of the excessiveness, some of the bed jumping and some of the laughing and weirdness, it keeps it touching without too much touching, as it were.
Which is the key word.
No touching.
So much of it is really just the same as Two Towers, where it's Gimli, just cut, it's the drinking game was a big one that people were like, please just get rid of the drinking game.
Game over.
Hit you with the gamer talk in Middle Earth.
When they go to the the Skull Cave and they're talking to the dead army and stuff, I really tightened that. I think that's actually the biggest piece. I guess at the time that didn't bother me back when the extended edition first came out, but man, people were pretty passionate about oh my gosh, it's just too long, it's too much. The hands and Gimli's he's blowing, ghost dust away or whatever. It was looking back at it now, I was like, oh yeah, that it was a little silly. It was a little too much.
I think I've seen Gimli blowing ghost dust on Pornhub. That is definitely a category.
I feel like all the scenes I cut from Return of the King were all the parodies.
I'm gonna swallow you whole.
Okay. I know it's supposed to be oh, so badass and cool, but Legolas and the elephant. I remember in the movie theater being oh, we're just doing this now. He's surfing last time. Now he's okay. He just he gets an over the top action sequence every movie now, I guess, and they got less and less grounded. I mean, it's Lord of the Rings. It's not that grounded, but there's just something about it turned into these over the top, almost 90s to early 2000s action set pieces that were just so ridiculous, more fitting of a Rambo. it was fun and silly, but like it doesn't lend to the gravitas of Lord of the Rings, those weird sequences.
And you know what, especially because like once you're watching it, and people can complain about this too, like, but it's in the book, so it is what it is. The ghost army coming and sort of like saving the day at that point in the battle, it's kind of over. You know what I mean? It's like Legolas, like, that's cool, bro. You're like doing more than you have to, but like ghost army's got it from here. Like, you don't really need to down a whole elephant platoon or whatever. Like, they just let them do their work. I cut out the mouth of Sauron, like the kind of, and that's one of those things. It's like some people think it's a great scene because the character design's really like creepy and over the top. But then the argument against it is basically that Aragorn wouldn't just like chop off the head of a messenger. Like you can go either way. That he's like, well, he's trying to antagonize Sauron. I don't know. Like it was one of those scenes that's like, I feel like his speech sells the moment. It's just one of those things that does go on that can easily be cut and it doesn't really change anything.
Yeah. This is the name of this game, right?
It's really and that's the thing. You know what? Like I would love to hear from people. If you're like, oh, dude, you could just cut this sequence too. Like this doesn't do anything. I'd love to hear it because I feel like this is the movie where the other two I got down to about 3.5 hours, and I feel like this one, I know there could be more that's cut, and like it was right now just little things. And like the last thing that's kind of on the list is Aragorn starts singing at his like commencement thing. And then he keeps singing, but he's not singing anymore. It's just like now it's just like background music, but it's still Aragorn singing. And I always thought that was weird because I was like, well, my bro is singing and now he's just walking around not singing, but it's still his voice singing. And I was just like, no, I don't like that. That makes me feel weird. Like, what is he, a ventriloquist of weird king singing? I don't know.
You're not here for the diegetic, non-diegetic switchover.
Exactly. And you know what? It's like, I mean, I kept the song's still there. Like you can still enjoy Viggo Mortensen's beautiful golden chords, but like he doesn't start it on screen. It's like, I don't know. It's just weird. I was just like, Dad, please don't sing in front of all my friends. Like, this is like, I don't know, this is embarrassing. I always felt weird about that. And maybe it's, some kind of repressed memories of my own, but I was like, no, Viggo, we can't do this.
No Aragorn in the shower vibes, not for you.
Yeah. I was like, can't do it. Speaking of another Pornhub scene that we had to cut, it was just,
oh my God, who knew they were so connected?
It's one of those.
Hey, don't go to Pornhub and look up hairy hobbit feet. Don't do it. It's a rabbit hole you don't want to fall too far down into. Personal experience. I don't want to talk about it too much, but it's a warning. It's a warning to all of you out there.
You and I both have been getting a little busy with work stuff, but the fan editing cannot,
cannot wait. It waits for no man.
For no man,
woman,
truly,
or elf, anybody. Or hobbit.
Anybody. Or my axe. Or my sword.
You have my bow.
That kind of takes us through these three. Hope people get a great little Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, everything cut down. Like you can now make it, I think, in like 14 hours or something like that if you pick the right edit of the Hobbit to one movie. Like this is
what a brisk walk, as we call
it. Truly, this is just an easy day of viewing. But we'd love to hear what people now that all three of them are in people's hands. Love to hear what people think. Are there more edits to be made? Is this we got one shout out on Reddit. Somebody was like, oh yeah, this is our new way of watching it. I'm considering updating it to 4K when I get some time, maybe later this year or something. But for now, just looking for feedback on this. This is not that ambitious of an edit, but it still was like, okay, this is clearly people had a lot of thoughts and feelings on this one.
Yeah, well, I personally enjoyed going through it and watching something where kind of like the silly in the moment, it feels like almost kind of like studio choices or debates or like personal creative choices or like, oh, I kind of want this to be like 90s action movie funny or different things like that, just for it to be kind of pared down, but to also keep the heart and the humor when it was appropriate. It was just a really fun way for me to personally watch Lord of the Rings, and I really appreciated the edit. And let us know out there in internet world what you're thinking about it. Thoughts and comments. Can't wait.